Hi guys, Melissa Pheasant here. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me as I give you an overview of the work in progress that is my ENG 101 online course. It is an 11-week critical thinking course that actually I am in the process of facilitating right now. So for my students, they're going to enter D2L, and when they come into the course, they will get a welcome video, which gives them an overview of how the course is set up. Underneath of that is a welcome letter that gives them some background to the course, gives them some personal information about myself to try to make some personal connections with them, and also an overview of what they can expect over the next 11 weeks with the course. When they enter into the content section of the course, they'll find those foundational resources that we've been talking about throughout our IDT course, and they will come to the Getting Started tab. So in Getting Started, there are several elements that I've added there. The first one here is Getting Started Online. And again, this kind of gives them a little background into the challenges that online courses can present to students who have not taken online courses before. I've also given them a link where they can kind of take an online quiz to gauge whether or not they themselves are ready for an online course. The next thing they're going to find is the Meet Your Instructor information, which just gives them specific ways that they can contact me. Again, this gives the overview of my student hours for the semester, as well as hours I tutor or coach in the Writing Center on campus, if they are able to get on campus and take advantage of some of those resources. I also let them know that the book is required, and I give them a couple of different ways that they can purchase or access the book. And then that brings them to what I call a syllabus challenge. The syllabus challenge is a low risk quiz that they're going to take, that the only way they're going to find these answers is to go through the Get Organized tab in D2L and explore the resources there. So if we go back to Get Started and kind of progress into Get Organized, here are all the foundational documents that they need. The course syllabus, the course information manual, a set of course policies that I've designed specifically for my courses, a copy of the tentative schedule, a list of graded assignments for the semester that mirrors their grade book, but it's in a format that they can print. We also put in a copy of the English Department Manual and the DTCC Handbook, which our department requires that we put in all courses. As they progress through these different documents, they will find all of the answers to that syllabus challenge. And by taking the syllabus challenge, it lets me know that they have reviewed the policies, they know what my lateness policy is, they know how to submit work, which actually brings to the next module here, which is what I call the Get on Google Drive. Working with writing students in D2L can be challenging to give them feedback. So I do require all my students, both face-to-face and online students, set up a Google folder and share that with me. And so what this does is it takes them through all of the steps, how to create the folder, how to give me editing access to their folder, and then how to add new documents to their folder. Then they'll progress on to Get to Work. And again, this is really the content, where we're going to find specific resources and materials that they'll be using throughout the semester. So here in module number 1, I have sort of an overview of what they're going to be doing throughout this particular module. And I've highlighted not only some of the learning materials or learning points, but also the assessments, and then linked those assessments to specific MPOs as we did throughout this course. So again, as you kind of go through these, they'll have some readings, and then the readings are connected with specific assignments, and that's just an overview to the module. Then the next thing they're going to see is a copy of the PowerPoint for Chapter 1. That's really a guided reading tool. I have a document here that I created for them to just kind of summarize skills, attitudes, and barriers to critical thinking, which are foundational elements to this course and things we'll build on throughout the 11 weeks. Then that brings them to their first discussion board. The discussion board is where we're tapping into some of those MPOs. Here they're going to do a couple of different things, and there's 2 due dates tied with this particular discussion board. So first, they're going to introduce themselves so they can start interacting with their classmates, and second, they're really going to start thinking about what does critical thinking mean to them, and then setting some goals for themselves for this course. The way this particular course is designed in conjunction with the textbook, each student can select a specific writing reading theme for the semester, and they have 5 to choose from. And so I'm asking them right here in week 1 to take a look at those themes in the book and choose which of the themes they're going to follow throughout the course of this semester. Once they've done that, they'll all come back and they'll start interacting with other people on the discussion board. And I do require that they respond to at least 4 of their classmates. And of course, I've built a rubric so that they can access that rubric and see exactly how they're going to be assessed on how well they introduce themselves, how effectively they discuss critical thinking, whether or not they included their theme, did they respond to 4 peers, and of course it's a writing class, so I'm always checking those writing mechanics, spelling, and grammatical errors. But that is built in there for them to be able to refer to even before they complete the discussion board. For their first writing assignment, they've already done the reading for that, but here I've put in a video of how they can actually utilize or open up a document in their Google folder and the expectations about how that should be formatted, how they can integrate their answers and being sure that they're using APA in-text citations, and I demo a couple of different ways that they can do that. And then once they watch that video, then they can progress on to actually submitting the first writing assignment, which is a read and respond number 1. And then just like the discussion board, there is a rubric here that they can take a look at prior to actually filling out or completing and submitting that particular project. That actually brings us to the end of module 1 for them. And they'll do both the introduction to the course and module 1 in the first week of the class. Now, for this course, IDT G20, I did not actually present module 2 as part of my assessment or part of my submission, but since I have gone ahead and built it already, I did go ahead and submit it here, just so you can see a little bit, again, how the MPOs are tied into some of the assignments. Again, there's a pattern. They're going to do the reading, they're going to see a PowerPoint. This is where they'll get their first quiz, because the first quiz actually combines chapters 1 and 2, but moving forward, each chapter will have its own quiz. Here, I've simply placed a link to the same discussion board as they had in Module 1, but since Part 2 is due during Module 2, I just kind of copied that over. And then they have another pre-reading or another writing assignment here. So this is the pre-reading journal. So there's some different instructions here where they're going to start expanding on their chosen theme for the semester. Again, if you access the pre-reading journal or even this read and respond here, rubrics have also been designed and built into those assignments as well. All right, so to kind of take a little bit behind the scenes, again, to look at some of the other things that we've done in the class this semester, if we go into activities and we look at quizzes, we can see here this midterm reflection. And the midterm reflection, again, this is one of those tools I'll be using later in the semester to actually gather data from the students to see how well they're doing and whether the things that I'm posting are actually working. So just to kind of give you an idea about some of these questions, it's 5 open-ended questions. They're worth 2 points each for a total of a 10-point assignment. It's very low risk. It's really just a completion grade. I'm not really evaluating content, so there's not really a rubric connected with this particular assignment. If they do it, they're going to get their credit for doing it. So here you've got questions like, thinking about your performance so far this semester, what are you proud of? Kind of starting with something positive. Asking them then if they're meeting their own expectations and what could they be doing differently in order to be more successful in the course. Then asking what additional resources I could post as their instructor that might help them be more successful. I asked them a little bit about the feedback they're receiving and whether they feel it's sufficient, whether it's helpful, and how the process could be improved. And then I straight out asked them, how can I, as your instructor, be more help you to be more effective, or what can I be doing that would be help you to be more successful. Again, I've talked about the rubrics that I've built and talked about how those are already connected to some of those assignments. I think that, I guess one last thing here, I did start doing some writing materials and resources. So because Deltec has switched over to APA 7th edition this semester, I did put in some bonus resources about that, also some information about the Writing Center, again, if they're able to come on to campus. Throughout the semester, the students will have 3 big writing assignments: the rhetorical response, the critical response, and the critical analysis. And so I've created under this writing materials and resources module 3 different folders one for each of those big writing assignments. So far, one of them is done, and that's the rhetorical response. And again, you'll see here they have an overview and instructions. They have a video they can watch. This response really focuses on logos, pathos, ethos, so the video talks about that. There's a PowerPoint, again, that supports this idea of logos, pathos, and ethos. They have a planning guide that they'll be completing and submitting. And then, of course, they have a rubric here. I do hope by the time this comes around that I'll even be able to have a student sample posted in here so that they'll have an exemplar that they can follow. All right, so I hope that this kind of gave you an overview of what this course is going to look like. Under overview, I did actually put a schedule for students so they can easily access that anytime throughout the semester. And this is kind of an overview, a breakdown of the 11 weeks of the semester. Each week is themed based on the content that's in the textbook. So as you can see, the first week is Intro to Critical Thinking. Then we move on to Comprehension and Curiosity, then Interpretation and Humility, and then the first writing, which is the rhetorical response. So I am working a little bit just to make sure that this is accessible. My PowerPoints are currently accessible, and I've added closed captioning to my videos. So those are steps that I'm taking new that I haven't done before to make the course more accessible. Here, I'm a little bit concerned about some of the color that I've used. I've tried to use the color to highlight when things are due, but I just need to double check and make sure that those colors are accessible to all students, even those who might be visually impaired. So, all right, I appreciate the time that you've taken to take this tour with me and hope that maybe you got some tips for yourself.